Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, today we're going to discuss more how we ended up in the material world. And Prabhupada was asked this question many times. I've just been doing research and just pulling it up now. And he was asked the question many times, and answers. Sometimes he gives different answers. We're going to read today. He was discussing about rasa. Can you change your rasa? A few questions that we've discussed. He's answering in maybe slightly different ways than he answered before, which is interesting. And I was thinking about that. And one answer is, well, the spiritual world has no limitations, so you could have different answers, right? So I just want to give you a little preview. I've opened my document. I'm going to the part of the document where we're going to be reading from. And there's some interesting conversations, some questions that are asked to Prabhupada about the spiritual world which are unanswerable. Prabhupada doesn't answer them and says, if you want answer to this, you'll have to go there. Things like that. Again, lots of questions, as you can imagine, lots of questions about coming, how do we get here? What's the weather like in the spiritual world? That's an interesting question. Excuse me. Questions about falling down. How is it you can fall down? We went over some of these questions before. How can you fall down from a pure state? Again, Prabhupada answers. It's nice to read the answers. Just he's giving philosophical answers, not necessarily answering it in the way the devotees were hoping he would answer, but they're sticking to philosophy. And then questions about Vaikuntha, Braja, 2-arm form, 4-arm form. And then what else do we have? Misuse of independence. What about eating in the spiritual world? Do you need to eat? What happens to the food that you eat? So that's what we're going to discuss today. I thought it was a funny question. It's a funny question to ask Prabhupada, don't you think? Like, probably more important things to ask, like, other than what happens to the food that you eat in the spiritual world. I mean, there are two kinds of questions. Questions that actually help you in Krishna consciousness, that are necessary, and questions that are out of curiosity. I think a lot of times questions were asked out of curiosity. Prabhupada didn't. Either he didn't get into it much, or he turn the light off and close the door. We'll be back. Count to 5 and I'll be back. No, don't count to 5. Chant 1 Hare Krishna mantra and I'll be back. Okay, so let's chant Jayarada Madhava. And then we'll begin class. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Govinda 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Govinda Radha Madhava Hare Krishna. I have to make a confession. I actually don't know how to play the keyboard. I just fake it. And here's how you fake it. You just practice one thing as best you can and play it simply so you can play it, and just learn how to play one thing and then go on to the next. And if you don't know how to play the instrument, just keep it simple. So I can play that. I can't play keyboards like Bada Hari or Havi. But I can play something simple, so then I just play it. And you all think, no, you can play the keyboard. Actually, I can't. But I can play that. And I can play Radha Madhava simply. So you don't have to do everything complicated. Especially when you're doing kirtan, because you're just accompanying yourself. Hare Krishna. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachani and every says Sundari Paschadivastari. So, Kamaniya, the first thing we're reading is perfect weather in the spiritual world. That's good news. You would imagine the weather would be good there, right? Krishna has control of the thermostat. Okay. Welcome to all of you. I don't know if Kamaniya has that up yet. Volume is low. I can make it louder. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare. Better? It is better. Okay, this is from a morning walk, and this is in Los Angeles, 1973. And Prabhupada spent a lot of time in Los Angeles. Prajapati asked, is it sometimes cold in the spiritual world? What kind of question is that? To ask your spiritual master. Prabhupada's very tolerant, and he answers, no. Prabhupada's laughing. He said, no, you don't like to go there? It's like little hard to hear. Oh, I forgot to plug in. Now it's better. Yeah, I wasn't plugged in. All right. I had done a class in the other room, and I had everything discombobulated, and I actually have plugged in. I go through this, and this goes into that, and I just didn't have it. This was going in. See, that was the problem. And it's just going through the phone. Now you know the difference. Now you know why I do this. Difference. That means we have to do kirtan again, right? Because you couldn't hear it. Maybe at the end if we have time. Okay, yes. Sound is fine now. Super. Yeah, because now we're going through the microphone. We're not going through the phone itself, which is noisy and not very good quality. So it is, it's called Perfect Weather in the Spiritual World. It's on page 13. Is it sometimes cold in the spiritual world? No. Prabhupada's laughing. You don't like to go there, so he's Prabhupada's saying, you're worried about going there? The weather won't be good? You'd rather, in Los Angeles, you have good weather in Los Angeles. You're worried the weather won't be as good? Maybe you don't want to go. So Prabhupada's laughing. He's joking with him. Prajapati, oh yes, I like to go there. Actually, I'd rather be here in the cold with you, Srila Prabhupada, than be in the warm without you. Of course. Prabhupada. We get the information from Bhagavad Gita. It is said, natad basyayate suryaha. There is no need of sunshine. So how it can be cold? Sunshine is required where it is cold, but there is no need of sunshine. Naturally, the conclusion should be It is neither cold nor hot. It is enjoyable. Cold, heat, all troubles there in the material world. Spiritual world is simply blissful life, enjoying. Raise your hand if you like to enjoy. Everyone's hand was raised. Okay. When we're having a meeting, we say, point of information. You're having a meeting, sometimes you raise your hand and say, point of information. This is like the proper way when you're having a meeting. Point of information. Point of information. If you like to enjoy, you're in the wrong place. If you like to enjoy, you're in the prison. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. You know, you can have a good time in the prison sometimes, but so what Prabhupada says, this is advertising. The spiritual world is simply blissful life, enjoying. So if you like to enjoy, go there, because then you can enjoy all the time. And if you want to enjoy here, all I can say is, sorry, doesn't work. Which doesn't work as well as it works there. Okay, so the next conversation. And I entitled this, You Can Do What You Want. And that's from a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna, in the 18th chapter, Krishna says, you can do what you want. And he says, he doesn't say you can do what you want, he says, do what you want. What you can't do, he tells Arjuna. He says, okay, I've just instructed you, now figure out what you want to do and do it. So there's, I think, this man's either maybe a psychologist, his name is Arnold Weiss. He's meeting with Prabhupada, and he says, as I understand it, since God is omnipresent, omnipotent, all-knowledgeable, and all-remembering, then he is in a position where he can know what our choices are going to be and what is going to happen with us in the future. This is a typical argument. Does God know everything? Yes, he knows everything. Okay, then he knows already the choices I'm going to make, which means then I'm not independent. Kind of a... You probably heard the argument, right? If he knows everything, he knows everything I'm going to do. He knows, therefore, the right and wrong decisions I'm going to make, everything, which means it's illogical thinking. That means I have no independence. No, what it means is you have independence and he knows how you're going to use it or misuse it. That's what it means. So just because he knows what's going to happen doesn't mean it's destined. He knows what you're going to choose by your independent will. That's what it means. Right? You understand the difference? No, it must be destined because he knows it's going to happen. It's only destined because you made the independent choice and he already knows what independent choice you're going to make. Oh, I just wanted to mention a side point. Excuse me. I've been listening to a lot of Prabhupada memories. I always listen to Prabhupada memories, and lately I've been listening. There's a theme that comes up in the Prabhupada memories, and perhaps you've noticed this. It's just so interesting. Devotee, I'll tell the story I heard today. This devotee said, before I was a devotee, I had so many questions. And she said her father was a teacher of theology, and he couldn't answer the questions. She said, I had so many questions. And the first time I think it was the first time she heard Prabhupada, he said, the lecture went and answered each question one by one, by one, by one, by one, by one. Every question she had, it was answered. You might say, yeah, sometimes that happens, it's a coincidence. Okay, listen to the next one. A devotee standing next to Prabhupada, they're taking darshan, and the devotee says something to Prabhupada about how beautiful Krishna is. You see, isn't Krishna beautiful? And Prabhupada said, yes, he's very beautiful. Or he's so beautiful, like that. And the devotee's thinking, oh, but I didn't ask Prabhupada about Radharani. And then Prabhupada turns to him and says, and Radharani is very beautiful. And there's story after story after story where a devotee tells that I was thinking of something, whether it be a question or a thought, and Prabhupada addressed it as if I had spoken it to him. It's not coincidence. There's so many stories like this. I was thinking, should I do this and that? And while I was thinking and walking with Prabhupada, Prabhupada said, you should do this and you shouldn't do that. I mean, story after story. It was exactly like the person told Prabhupada what they were thinking and he answered it, but they never told him. They were just thinking it. Krishna knows what you're thinking. He knows what you're going to do, but it doesn't mean he's controlling that. So that was, like you say, did Prabhupada ever exhibit like mystic power, something like that? This was, I think, one of the main things that I saw, was that he just knew what people were thinking, and sometimes he would address something and he would turn to that person and say, so what do you think? And that was what the person had that question, and he's answering that question that they had, and he turned to, so what do you say? It's amazing. Yeah, amazing. If you listen to a lot of Prabhupada memories, you'll see this coming up all the time. I had a question in my mind, I was thinking this, and it wasn't like accidental. Prabhupada would turn to them and say, this is this, which was exactly what they were thinking, just answering it or addressing a doubt or whatever. Interesting. So this man is saying, he can know what our choices are going to be and what is going to happen to us in the future. So, as I said, Bhaktivedanta Purna Swami also answered, yeah. I'm saying sometimes it happens by Krishna's arrangement. It's like you have questions and you inspire the speaker, even unknown to the speaker, to answer your questions, and that's Krishna's mercy. And that happens. I've seen that happen many times. I wanted to make the point, this is different. This is like, it's not like people have told that to me, but I didn't know they had the question. But we could see Prabhupada definitely knew what the question was. Krishna can use us to answer the question, but Prabhupada knew. So the man is, the connotation here seems to be that I don't have any choice because Krishna already knows what I'm going to choose. So Prabhupada is addressing that. No, you make a choice, you can change it, but as soon as you change it, God knows what you are going to do. This is very common sense. Suppose you're an honest man. I entrust you with something. But as soon as you become dishonest, immediately I withdraw my interest, my trust, because I know what you'll do. You have got... Krishna knows what you're going to do. It's not... Prabhupada's saying it's common that we can understand what other people are going to do by their nature. So you have got little independence. You are put into a certain position, but you can change it at any time. So your position is actually you are eternal servant of God. As soon as you change it, then your suffering begins. In Bhagavad Gita, you'll find after instructing Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, Krishna is asking, now I have instructed you everything. Now whatever you like, you can do. Yate chasi tata kuru. That independence you have got. Krishna or God does not interfere with the little independence He has given to us. And because we are part and parcel of God, God is fully independent. So we have got little portion of independence. So by misusing that independence, we can desire to become God and we suffer. So this theme has been coming up a lot, particularly in the questions about how could we become envious of Krishna? How did we get into the material world? And Prabhupada, he always comes back to this point. You have independence. You always have independence. It's your nature as jiva. You can always misuse it. Then he's not really speaking so much practically, if you misuse your independence in this situation, this is what happens, this is how it happens, these are the steps that you fall down into. He's not really speaking that way. He's speaking more as a principle, so as a tattva. The tattva is the jiva is independent. Why is he independent? And Prabhupada explains here, because he's part of Krishna, who is supremely independent. So he has minutely the qualities of Krishna, so he has some minute independence. And that independence, specifically as Prabhupada speaking about it here and generally speaking about it, is the independence to choose to serve Krishna or not. And you can do that anytime. And Prabhupada makes a point. You can always do that. Will you do it always? In certain situations, in the material world, pretty much the answer is yes. In the spiritual world, or a spiritually elevated state, pretty much the answer is no. Or at least the answer is yes, but you won't, means it doesn't happen. But Prabhupada likes to answer yes, just to make the point that you always have independence, is you have the potential to misuse it, even in ideal situations. And I think, sometimes it's confusing because we say, but if you're in the spiritual world, how could you fall like that? But you have a story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Lord Chaitanya's servant. His name is Krishnadas. And Krishnadas, I don't know how it happened practically. Maybe he was traveling with Mahaprabhu, and maybe Mahaprabhu had to go somewhere, and they were separated for a while. And he was lured away from Mahaprabhu by some attractive gypsy woman. There's a song like that when I was young. It was a blues song. Gypsy woman cast a spell on me. So something like that. He just got enamored. And what's so nice about this story is it makes the point very clearly that there's really no safe position, because you can always misuse. Well, you can say there's a safe position or seemingly safe position, but even in a seemingly safe position, because we have independence, we can misuse. He's Lord Chaitanya's servant, and he was lured away by some gypsies. So it's very instructive. And you have the example of Prahlad Maharaj, who has no association of devotees. He's in a school which is meant to train you up to be an atheist, and he's completely Krishna conscious. So both of these show that in spite of the situation, you have independence to choose. And so Prahlad's in practically the worst situation you could be in, and he's choosing Krishna, and Krishnadas is in the ideal situation as serving Mahaprabhu, and he's choosing the gypsies. So it makes that point. Those stories make that point very clearly. Or Thakur Haridas, Maya comes and he's choosing the holy name. So even in the presence of Maya, you can choose Krishna. Even in the presence of Krishna, you can choose Maya. That's the point. That's what you get from these stories. At least that's one of the lessons you get, isn't it? You agree? Even in the presence of Maya, you can choose Krishna. Even in the presence of Krishna, you can choose Maya. Yes or yes? I think I'll make a video about that. It's such a good point, isn't it? So it's a philosophical point. Now, you might say, well, how many people in the presence of Krishna choose Maya? Not many. But have you ever been in Maya? Well, you ever had thoughts of material enjoyment while you're chanting the holy name? I'm sure everyone has at one point or another. Have you ever had material thoughts in a class when you see the deity? I'm sure everyone has had some thought of enjoyment, even if it's kind of innocent enjoyment. So that's, you can, Maya can be there in front of Krishna. And you can be completely away from the devotees. And you can be Krishna conscious. So that's the point. And to make the point more clear, then Prabhupada quotes this verse in the Gita, Yate Jasi, that's a tongue twister. Yate chasi tata kuru. Yata ichasi. Yata ichasi. Yeah. So, basically, from what I can tell from the Sanskrit, it seems to mean as you desire, so you can do. So why does Krishna tell Arjuna, I've instructed you, deliberate on it and do what you want to do? Yate chasi, as you like, so you do. Because again, he's making this point. It's actually a philosophical point. And what's the point? Krishna could have said, I've just instructed you, and you will do whatever you do. He could have said that. But he's saying, you don't have to, by saying this, he's saying, you don't have to do what I asked you to do. I will not force you to follow my instructions, and you can do, you don't feel forced, do what you decide to do. You'll have to decide, I won't force you. But it states the same point in another way. You will do. You will do what you will do because I can't force you, because you're a jiva, you have independence. So Prabhupada's always making this point whenever there's discussion. Why we're in Maya, why did Krishna allow us to come here, why did we want to come here, why do we stay here, why don't we go back, how do we get here? This is the basic answer Prabhupada gives. I mean, Prabhupada could say, because you're unintelligent or this or that, but this is the fundamental point. You can't even misuse your intelligence unless you have independence, right? So you could say, you misused your free will, misused your intelligence, but Prabhupada wants to go on the fundamental level, saying, you have free will always. Then the next point, you misused it, but understand you always have it. You can always do something stupid. That's the moral of the story. Hey, isn't it? Hey, Prabhu, you want to know something? You could always do something stupid. Until you have prema, you could always do something stupid. Don't forget, all right? That's another t-shirt, right? Until you have prema, you could always do something stupid. Right? Yes? Should I write that down? We have so many t-shirts, I can't remember them all. But that's the point. Until you have prema, you can always do something stupid. I don't want to say you will do something stupid. It means you can. It doesn't mean you will, but you can. Okay. Let's read the next one. Now this next one is interesting because here Prabhupada is saying something that appears to be different from what we previously read about rasa. You remember we were saying you could be a flower and then you could be a human being. And Prabhupada said the spiritual is dynamic, so you could change your rasa. This is called your rasa is perfect. It's the next one. Oh yeah. No, you can always fall down. We read that. Your rasa is perfect. Or did we read that? We didn't read that. Oh, I'm skipping ahead. You can always fall down. That's right. You're right. Okay. Next one, right. Short and punchy. Hey, stupid, you can always fall down. All right, so this is the right one. You can always fall down. Devotee. It is said that once you achieve the Godhead, once you go back to Krishna, that you don't fall down. But it is also said that we come from there originally. If we come from there, if we were already there. That's a good question, right? If you go back to God, you won't fall. So if you won't fall, how did you fall? It doesn't make sense. And first thing I want to say before reading this, as I had mentioned previously, when this question was asked to Prabhupada, we fell from the spiritual world. There were a couple of questions, I think twice we read statements like that. And then Prabhupada did not say, no, we didn't fall from the spiritual world. He didn't say we did. He didn't even deal with it. Isn't that interesting? These are, we say, well, I don't think we fell from the spiritual world, or did we fall? Well, these are occasions when people are asking the question where Prabhupada could immediately say, wait a minute, we didn't fall from the spiritual world. Or let me clarify this, what this means, we fell. Not from Krishna Lila. Let me clarify this. He doesn't address that. And there are many questions that were asked like this, and he didn't address it. He didn't. And as I said, you remember last time I was saying how if someone asked a question, had some philosophical misunderstanding or apasiddhanta, Prabhupada wouldn't answer the question, or he would correct the question. Or he would answer another question. He would answer the question they Have you ever read anything? Prabhupada doesn't answer the question, and you're thinking, I guess Prabhupada didn't understand the question. And now Prabhupada understood the question. It was not a good question, so he answered another question. He answered a question that he felt the person needed, the answer of which the person needed to hear. And the person didn't need to hear the question they asked because it wasn't the right question or a good question. So I'm going to read this again, then we'll read what Prabhupada says. It is said that once you achieve the Godhead, once you go back to Krishna, that you don't fall down. But it is also said that we come from there originally. If we came from there, how did we fall if we were already there? If you go back, you don't fall. So how can you fall if you're already there? That's the question. Good question, right? Prabhupada. Yes. Just like this example that personality and Shiva, they also sometimes become victims of Maya. So I mean to say, potency of falling down is always there. Potency. And because we are part and parcel of God, and because we are now in the material world, it is to be understood that we have fallen down. Now, he's not even addressing the location of the fall down. He's just addressing the principle. So the first point he's making is Shiva and Brahma, they're also sometimes a little Maya. It's possible even for great personalities. And what does Prabhupada mean, Shiva and Maya? Well, I think he's referring to the Mohini Murti, which was not actually Maya per se. Krishna came as a woman. Lord Shiva wanted to see Krishna as a woman, and he became attracted. So he became attracted to Krishna as a woman, but then Prabhupada said, well, it was actually Krishna. And all the brahmacharis say, Krishna, come to me as a woman so I can be attracted to you, because I'm not attracted to you. Something like that. Not that but Lord Shiva was attracted to Krishna, but he just thought, wow, it'd be amazing to see Krishna as a woman. And he ran after her. So that's what Prabhupada's saying. Even great personalities sometimes become bewildered. And because we are part and parcel of God, and because we are now in the material world, it is to be understood that we have fallen down. But you cannot trace out the history when you have fallen down. That is impossible. But our position is marginal. So by saying you can't trace out the history of when we've fallen down, it's kind of throwing a little bit of making a little bit, you could say, ambiguous. And as I said, it seems in these discussions, Prabhupada, I don't think he's trying to make it ambiguous per se. He's just sticking to this principle of independence. And then the other questions you may have, it's not really going there. as you can see, this is maybe the fourth time we've read a discussion about falling. This is called the jiva is part of an energy. We are jiva, the soul is part of an energy called tatastha shakti. It's not material. It's spiritual, but it has the ability to be influenced by the material. So it's called tatastha in the middle. It's marginal. It can be fully spiritual, which is its nature is spiritual, but it can be influenced by the material. So it's marginal. It can go either way. Even though it's spiritual, it can be overcome by the material, so therefore it can go either way. That's its nature. So because it's marginal, Prabhupada's making the point, because that's its nature, it has the tendency to fall. It doesn't have to, but it has the tendency. That's what it means to be marginal. At any moment, we can fall down. That tendency is there. Therefore, we are called marginal. Just like it is very simple to understand. Everyone is prone to fall disease. Is it not? Now, when you are diseased, there is no necessity of finding out the history when you were diseased. You are diseased. Make your treatment. That's all. Similarly, we are in the material condition of life. Just go on treating it. And as soon as you are cured, be careful not to fall down again. But there is chance of falling down, again becoming diseased. Not that because you once become cured, there's no chance of becoming diseased again. There is chance. Therefore, we shall be very much careful. Now you might say, Prabhupada's talking to us. And you can't fall from prema. Once you're in prema, you can't fall. That's the philosophy. But he's not really, as I said, he's not addressing particulars. Because he could have said, well, in prema you can't fall. That is the philosophy. But at the same time, the philosophy is, as jiva, you have independence. So that's the point Prabhupada wants to make. And then he makes this other important point. You're sick, so what's your focus? Though you're sick, your focus is get better. Your focus is not how did I get sick. That's not, you may focus on that, but it's not necessary, and it's not useful per se in curing you, necessarily. If you know the disease and you know the cure, that's all you need to know. So we see this theme, and I just thought it was good to share a little more about this because it makes the point more clear. So, I'm going to read the next one. We're doing good today. The next one is called Your Rasa is Perfect. This is from a lecture on the Bhagavatam. 6th canto, 3rd chapter, verses 16 and 17 in February 10, 1971. And this contradicts something Prabhupada said earlier. Hansaduta Prabhupada, you said that when a person changes original spiritual form, just like the Vishnu Dutas, they have their four-handed form. Does that mean they will never rise up to the state of associating with Krishna in two-handed form? What does it mean, original form? Prabhupada, original form, two-handed. Hansaduta, two-handed. Prabhupada, yes. So that four-handed form is not complete. So that four-handed form is not complete perfection of Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada, no. There is perfection everywhere in the spiritual world, but it is a question of variety, taste. When you take rasgula, don't take kachori. When you take rasgula and you don't take kachori, that does not mean the kachori is not perfect. It is a question of taste. Somebody likes kachori, somebody likes rasgula. Rasgula. Not that kachori is inferior to rasgula. Rasgula is inferior to kachori. What is Prabhupada saying? He's saying that every one of us has a taste for a particular relationship. And it doesn't mean that, oh, you have this relationship, so that's better, I should give up my relationship. He said it's a matter of taste. You like rasgula, you like kachori. It doesn't make kachori bad. It doesn't make another relationship bad or something wrong with it. It's a matter of taste. So the devotee is saying, can we change the relationship? And Prabhupada's saying, well, you have a taste for a particular relationship, so why would you want to change it? And previously Prabhupada said, you could change it. And you could change it as a philosophical principle, that it's dynamic and you could. And now Prabhupada's speaking not from the point of philosophy, but from the point of rasa or relationship. And saying, if you have this relationship with Krishna, if that is the relationship you're meant to have, it will be perfect for you. And so you wouldn't want to change it, because that's inherent within it's inherent within you, that particular relationship. So Hansadutta says, so that means if someone is situated in that Swarup, yes, Prabhupada says, yes, everything is Swarup, everything is Swarup. Hansadutta. Suppose someone is situated as Vishnu Dutta, he may change his taste. Prabhupada, why he shall change it? Hansadutta, he may get a taste for associating with Krishna. Prabhupada, the change is taking place in this material world. They're all taste. They're all taste are fixed up. Rasa, eternal rasa. For every one of us has a different taste of associating with, and that will be realized when one is liberated. Hansadutta, so that's fixed already? Prabhupada, yes. When you are liberated, you will understand in which way you are related with Krishna. That is called Sarup Siddhi. But that is attained when you are actually perfect in devotional service. Just like in our family, we enjoy different rasas. We have got one kind of relationship with wife, one kind of relationship with sons and daughters, one kind of relationship with friends, one kind of relationship with servants, one kind with relationship with property. So similarly, Krishna, the whole creation is his family, and he has got relationship in that way. So why the son will change his relationship into husband and wife? That's a good example. You're the son, why would you want to be the wife? Or the husband? Hansadutta, I see. Prabhupada, yes, because every relationship is very palatable. The gentleman, the head of the family, his relationship with wife and his relationship with servant is as much palatable. Maybe some degradation, but it is palatable. There's no question of changing it. Not that I am tasting this rasa at the present moment, then I will get better rasa. No, that is not. Everyone thinks my rasa is the best. Although there is comparative gradation, but everyone thinks these things are, everyone thinks like this. These things are explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why don't you see Hansadutta and Nectar of Devotion? Prabhupada, yes, everyone thinks my relationship with Krishna is the best. Hansadutta, so it's not a matter of aspiring Whoa. I lost it. Hold on. I lost it. So it's not a matter of aspiring to some, Prabhupada. No, there's no question of aspiring, because he's already situated in the best of relationship with Krishna. Even the trees in Vrindavan, they want to serve Krishna silently in that way. supplying fruits and flowers, that is their ananda. Everyone enjoying the supreme bliss. When Krishna comes, takes a fruit or flower, that is their enjoyment. So sometimes you'll hear, yeah. So Vijay Lakshmi saying that. In a previous class we said, like, if you're in Vaikuntha, you could go to Braj, Goloka, and change. And my understanding of that, as I was explaining before, no, you could. Prabhupada's saying you could, but you won't. But it's again this idea of independent free will. It seems that Prabhupada, in his preaching, he always maintained that you have free will, so therefore anything's possible. At the same time, he's saying, but it won't happen, because it's the nature of the spiritual world that you're totally satisfied. So it's just something we have to understand. It's like two things are going on simultaneously. One is like what's actually happening in the spiritual world, and the other is what's happening in the world of philosophy. In the world of philosophy is anything can happen because the spiritual world's dynamic. And in the world of what actually happens is, this is your rasa, and you're satisfied. That's how I've understood Prabhupada's explanation of it. He's always referring to this dynamic, the spiritual world's dynamic, and he's always referring to the jiva as independent. So Gopi Mata is confused. The confusion will be over soon, Gopi Mata, when your relationship with Krishna is realized. And when you realize what Prabhupada's saying is, it will be revealed. Usually it's revealed when you achieve bhava, or starts to be revealed as a sakti. You get strong, you can get an inclination for a particular rasa, and then it'll be revealed when you're in bhava. And then once it's revealed, you won't say, oh no, I'm a coward, boy, I had my heart set on being a gopi, this is so depressing. You won't feel like that. Or as you might in the material world, oh, my self-esteem has been smashed, I'm just a servant, I thought I could be a gopi, now everybody's going to laugh at me. It's not like that. Prabhupada has said many times that this is your relationship, and because it is, it's revealed to you, and when it's revealed to you, you're satisfied with it because it's perfect for you. So, confusion finished. You don't have to, and it's like, do I have to work on my relationship? Yeah, but I don't have to work on the particular relationship because that will be revealed. Just by hearing and chanting, that particular inclination will be revealed to you. So, not to worry. Gopi Mata, Ganga Devi Dasi, not to worry. Relationship is coming. You just chant Hare Krishna, not to worry. Something like that. I'm playing the role of guru. I'm practicing for the next movie I'm going to be in. And not to worry. Everything is okay. Some people, they like to worry so much. When they're not worrying, they get worried. Oh, something's wrong, I'm not worrying. So they worry about the fact they're not worrying. Have you seen people like that? It's kind of interesting phenomenon. For me, Krishna Karshani says, for me the statement of Prabhupada that everyone is satisfied with their rasa is proof that we did not fall. For Krishna Karshani, everything is proof. Apples are red is proof. That's proof. I went to the store today and I saw red apples. That's proof we didn't fall from the spiritual world. For Krishna Karshani, everything is proof we were never in the spiritual world. Doesn't matter what you say. It's proof. Even Prabhupada said, we fell from the spiritual. That's proof we didn't fall. It's not possible. So, again, does it really matter? What was the example yesterday I was given? You're shot with arrows and you're like, where do these arrows come from? Pull them out. No, first I want to know where they came from. Who shot me? Get the arrows out. You're dying. No, don't take them out until we know who did it. That's what we're getting from Prabhupada. And you see how Prabhupada, how he's focused on this conversation? He just totally steers away from the discussion. He keeps it very philosophical. Doesn't he? Christy, we give class Monday through Friday at this time, and then on the weekends, different classes on different days. And you can look on my Facebook or my website. If the devotees are doing their job properly, then everything will be on my website. Because I think on Facebook it's harder to find, isn't it? How do you find on Facebook the classes if they just come up and kind of scroll down? Do they stay somewhere? I never go on Facebook. I don't know anything. I don't know much about using it. I never really got my head around it. But it's supposed to be schedule is supposed to be on my website, which seems easier to me. Just go there and it's all there. Krishna Karshani is funny. Today the weather's nice. That proves we were never in the spiritual world. Hare Krishna. Kubhijivana says, I think Prabhupada doesn't want us to focus much on it because we can have a tendency to not want to take responsibility for our free will, and then we want to blame Krishna. But even if you fell from we were with Krishna and Leela, we fell from the spiritual world. That's one explanation. The other explanation is we were never there, because if we were there, we couldn't fall. So we're marginal. So we're in a marginal position. And from the marginal position, we either choose to go back to Krishna or we choose to come to the material world. So that's why I say, however you slice the pie, it comes down to the same thing. We made a choice. So if you think you can't make that choice from the spiritual world, that's fine. You made the choice from Brahman, which is also part of the spiritual world, but not on the spiritual planet. So the point is we made a bad choice. And it had lots of ramifications, and that was the worst choice we ever made. And the problem is we made the choice, and then for lifetimes, unlimited lifetimes, we cultivated that choice. I'm chosen to be independent, and we've cultivated it. And that's why when you become Krishna conscious, you find on one hand it's so natural, but on the other hand it's so difficult. Because the tendency for independence, it just doesn't give up. The tendency to want to enjoy, think about sense gratification, it's deeply rooted due to our conditioning of so many lifetimes. So, I have a beautiful quote, except it's on the phone. And if I go to the quote, it's going to put you all on pause, and I can't read it. So I have to get it off my phone onto my computer. But it was a quote similar about this in terms of chanting. But let's just take this idea and apply it to everything. Okay, so Prabhupada's saying, we misused our independence, we came here. And now let's look at our lives today. Now at every moment, we have a choice to use our independence for Krishna or not, right? To misuse it or not misuse it. Correct? So that idea, it's applicable in every situation. And then Prabhupada says, even up to the stage of bhav, one can misuse it. So, That's just a philosophical reality. Right? Okay, should we read more? This next one is funny. WhatsApp group, yeah. Yeah, Christy, everything's on my website, I hope. It's supposed to be. Christy is in Spain, right? Is that correct? And Christy, we have classes in Spanish on 7 o'clock on Tuesday in the evening, but that's kind of late for you. Krishna Karshani, that's my life mission, to make you laugh. Maybe I am a joker in the spiritual world. I would love to make Krishna laugh. Yeah. Yeah. Then you become a coward boy. Okay. So, class schedule on my website is a little hard to find. You have to dig for it. Yeah, it should be right on the top. I'll tell Guru Nista. I'll make a note. Because that may be one of the things that most people want to look at when they go on there. Just check. Okay. Thanks for that info. We're never safe until we reach prema. I mean, we could say ultimately perfectly safe. We're safe. You're safe if at the lotus feet of Prabhupada. Oh, so put it in the menu bar. Okay. So if you keep good association and you do sadhana, then you're safe, then you won't fall. But like I was saying, it's more of a practical point, more of a philosophical than a practical. If you're in good association, if you're chanting good rounds and so on, you're not going to fall. But you could at any moment. Because you could stop getting that association, you could stop hearing Bhagavatam, you could stop chanting well, then you could fall. Right? That's the point. But you won't. You'll be protected. If you follow everything, you'll be protected. That's the idea. It's on your homepage. You scroll down to that page to find it. I'm in Spain, but English feels better. Okay. You must have been British in your last life, right? Question from Bhakti Requero. Hare Krishna. In Shantaras, where the predominant feeling is admiration, can that rasa evolve to a rasa where if there's loving exchange? Prabhupada explained something. He says the rasas evolve. He gives the example. And this is different. Like you start out in Krishna consciousness. In the beginning, it's just appreciation. Then you may say God is the Father. But that's not actually in an actual rasa that you've established. It's more of a concept. It's more of a way you're approaching. So there's a purport where Prabhupada said you start in Shanta, then you go up. But he didn't mean that you were in that relationship. At that neophyte position of bhakti, that's how you're approaching Krishna. But if it's your eternal rasa, then that's what Prabhupada's saying, it'll stay like that. Correct? Yeah. And if that's Prabhupada's saying, if that's your rasa, then you wouldn't want it to go anywhere else. And you might say, well, what's my rasa now? Well, just hear Bhagavatam, all the rasas are there. Chant, associate, serve, And gradually it will be revealed. The inclination will be very strong towards a particular rasa. And then as you advance, it will be revealed who you are. It's really, I think it's really an amazing meditation. Just to think that we have an eternal position in the spiritual world. And when you meditate on that, then it's easier to understand you're not the body, because obviously this body's not eternal. This is not our eternal position. And if I know I have an eternal position, this is not it. So it makes it a little easier to get out of the bodily concept when you realize there's a spiritual body that is me, that I will revive in my pure state, and that's who I am in a particular relationship, with a particular service, in a particular group, with a name, with a particular everything, how I look, what I do, is all. We have that. We have that. And so that is waiting, and what's getting in the way is this. This is getting in the way of that, and that's waiting for us. So that's who we are. And as you become Krishna conscious, you'll understand who that is. And you don't need to force it. You just keep doing the process, and by doing the process, the desire will manifest. It'll become clear. So if you have Shantaras now, it's just not Shantaras, it's just like your beginning of understanding Krishna consciousness. Sankita says, once we feel love for Krishna, then after, how to balance family life as souls start feeling renounced things. That moment, how to balance. Doesn't mean that when you love Krishna, you all of a sudden become irresponsible. In theory, it should mean you become more responsible. If we use Arjuna as an example, he became more responsible because he was irresponsible before he was Krishna conscious. And so, okay, let's say I wake up tomorrow with prema. And then I tell my wife, hey, I have prema, see you later. And she's thinking, what are you talking about? And I said, oh, I have prema, I'm leaving. It's not exactly like that. It could be like that, but it could be the opposite. You have prema, and now you're more well-equipped to be dutiful mother, father, husband, wife, so forth, disciple, guru. So look at it that way. Don't look at it like one or the other. That's the wrong idea. Wrong idea. I mean, sometimes you see that Mirabai is just like totally intoxicated love, and then, doesn't want to get married. That's there. But Prabhupada asked us to be balanced in our approach. Then you have the example of Maharaj. Who was that? Priyabrata. He was very renounced. He didn't want to marry. But he was asked to do it. And in the story in Bhagavatam, it says that he did it very well. But he wasn't really into it because he was satisfied in his love of Krishna. But he did it out of duty. And he did it really well. So if I love Krishna, I should love my family. That's my duty to Krishna. Now, we have cases of sometimes sadhus, saints, just becoming renounced. They're not in this world anymore, and they can't be in this world. But that's not something that would happen to us. There are stories like that, funny stories like that, where they're so renounced, they just can't relate at all to household life. They're like with Krishna, but that's there, but it's not going to happen to us. It's not like when you get love, it's going to like happen overnight. You're going to wake up and go from 0 to 100 overnight, and then you will not be able to handle it. And probably by the time you get that love or get close to it, your family will, kids will be grown up somewhere else, and you'll be in an ideal situation to be renounced. Okay, so we have a Facebook page called Mahatma Prabhu's Hearts or something like that. And then Vijay Lakshmi posts the class schedule. Anandita says, when Srila Prabhupada says, Prabhupada, yes, everyone thinks my relationship with Krishna is the best. Can this become an ego issue? Definitely not. If we think our relationship with Krishna is better than others, devotees, no. Because that would only happen if you don't have the relationship. Because the only way you could realize that relationship, when you realize the relationship, there's no more ego. Right? There's real ego. I'm a gopi. That's real ego. I'm a cowherd boy. I'm in this rasa. That could only be realized when there's no ego. If you have ego, you would never realize it, because your ego is saying I'm the body. To say I'm a gopi or cowherd boy means to realize my spiritual identity. So, if somebody falsely thinks, well conditioned, I'm a gopi and you're not, therefore I'm better than you. Yeah, that's false ego coming in, but they're not having realization that they're a gopi, they're dreaming. If anybody thinks I'm better than you, that's not Krishna consciousness. I have this rasa, therefore I'm better than you. Well, the fact that you're thinking you're better than me indicates you don't have that rasa, because if you did, you wouldn't think that way. So don't think of it in a material way, because it's not material. Yeah. Mistake. The end of the Madhya Lila says that most souls in existence are in the Madhurya Rasa and Goloka. Can you find the quote? I would like to see it. But even if that's true, doesn't mean you're necessarily in it, because Prabhupada's saying, whatever. Krishna likes girls, He'll make sure he gets a lot of girls up there. And guys, always remember, the girls are for Krishna, not for you. That's a Prabhu, I'm agitated by the women. What's the panacea? They're all Krishna's girlfriends. Keep your hands off them. That's it. Krishna Karshani says, you said we can fall even on bhava. I heard, and I am not sure it's true. Why we aren't Krishna? The tests of Maya are more intense. More to Krishna we are. She's asking if the higher you go, will Maya test you more? There's a point where Maya stops testing you and just says, congrats. And she helps you go back to Godhead. My experience is the tests are stronger when you're younger. When you're older, you have more Krishna, so there's less Maya. Of course, Maya will always test in some way. But from what Prabhupada said about it, I always got the impression that she'll test you until you pass. And when you pass, she'll be like, okay, you're doing good. Here's your diploma. Keep up the good work. So, we can't say Maya will never test us. But as you go up high, you have more Krishna consciousness, so that follows you have less Maya in your life. And Maya's, she's like She helps you by testing you, but when you evolve to a certain point, you're pretty much existing on your taste, not because Maya's frustrating you. So I think it's both true and not true. I think it's true up to a point. Naturally, if you're a soldier in the ISKCON army, she's going to shoot you first. She'll go for you. If she can pull you down, she'll try. Same time, by your strength in Krishna consciousness, she can't do anything. So that's there. So Anandita says, but what about when we are still on the material platform and we start thinking this? That means you're on the material platform. You can't think that way. You can't know what your rasa is on the material platform. You're going to have to say, I really like reading about the gopis. Fine. Does that mean you're a gopi? Not necessarily. It just means you like reading about them. The coward boys like reading about them also. Mother Yasoda likes reading about them also. So you can't know what your rasa state. At least a sakti or bhava. Thinking I'm in this rasa and therefore better than you, that's all material thinking. So you don't have to give credence to it. I have to sit up straight, as you can tell. I'm a little tired. I don't know why. I got up early. I could explain it. Why Maya is so tough on devotees, making it so challenging for us? Because Maya's not tough. She's us, and so she's only doing things that will make us stronger. Of course, you could, when she punches you, you could just say, okay, I'm not going to fight anymore. But if she punches you, then you could become more angry and punch back, so to speak. So then she's making you fight harder. And if there's no Maya, what would you do, Gopi Mata? Go to sleep and wake up, and then when you wake up, eat a pakora, and then watch TV and this and that. I can't fall into Maya because I can do anything I want. Maya can't touch me. So what would you do? That's the point. So she's there that as soon as we don't do what's Krishna conscious, we suffer. So it forces us, right? It seems that those who are in illusion to be advanced and at the same time are irresponsible and lazy tend to give up family, work, and duties. Yeah. It's not something that Prabhupada wanted. Advanced devotees officially took sannyas, and that meant their wives were agreeable and that they were qualified. Mahatma Prabhu's heart is not a group, and only those who are in the group have access to the posted information. So you have to ask to join the group, I guess. We post a schedule of classes on your website here, and there it is. Ta-da-ta-da. Other devotees can join or not. I don't know anything. I don't know who that's for. Is it just for disciples or well-wishers? Or I don't know who started it, and I never go on that. I'm afraid to go on it because they're probably saying nice things about me. So, and I might believe them. Oh, that would be horrible, right? Who runs Mahaprabhu's heart space? That's a good question. If I only know anything. It's on the home page. So Sangita says, previous to my question, I meant how to balance when no one in the family agreed the way of Krishna consciousness, what we follow in this kind. Balance our love for Krishna, love for family. It's not easy to deal with. Your love will be your duty. And then don't. Love will be your duty to your family. That's all. And your love for Krishna will be your love for Krishna. Simple. Don't make it complicated. And if, people in your family aren't so inspired to follow what you follow, then that's okay. Just follow it. Do it. Do what you have to do, and then do your duty. Everything will be fine. Don't complicate it. Yesterday we had a class. At the end of class, everybody was asking a question, and it was kind of a long question. And I gave a short answer to a long question. It took maybe like 4 minutes to articulate his question, and it took me, I think, 2 sentences to answer it. And then I said, that was a simple answer for a complicated question. It wasn't a complicated question. He made it complicated. That was a simple question. He was going on and on and on. And I understood in the first minute or 45 seconds what the question was. So I think sometimes we make things more complicated than they are. We think, like, this is a big problem. Well, it's not such a problem. Just be a responsible mother and wife, and be responsible. And there's different sets of duties, and you figure out how to do them both. And you can do both. You have boundaries. You have to maintain some boundaries to practice your Krishna consciousness. And you also have to give your family. So I guess if you want to go on that Facebook page, you just have to go and request to get in or something, right? Okay. Now what? I'm finished. We've read everything. Have we read everything? No, we haven't. There's more to read. Oh, fantastic. Let's read the next one. Same question again. I think as students we need to take the responsibility to learn how to act in reference to your experience of the devotee asking, yeah. I think what was happening is the devotee was very confused, and by answering it simply, I was trying to make the point, it's not a confusing situation, you just got confused by. It was actually, here's the simple answer. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was making it confusing, right? That was my, normally I don't give simple answers. Some devotees, you ask complicated questions, they give you 2-line answers. Next question, 2-line answer. Next question. I don't do that. But I gave him a very short answer because it was a statement that it's not complicated. So sometimes we're making things more complicated than they are. It's not complicated. Just chant Hare Krishna. Be Krishna conscious. Do your duties. Be responsible. Think of Krishna. Do your sadhana. Like that. See your duties as mother and wife as part of your seva to Krishna. Okay, we have time to read one more. This is called Misuse of Independence, is Craziness. This is a lecture at St. Pascal's Franciscan Seminary, Melbourne, June 28, 1974. Madhavisa. He wants to know. Krishna says that once you are in the spiritual world, you are full of bliss. Why would someone choose to come to the world? Prabhupada. That I have already explained. He will be happy independently. His father has got everything, but he goes out of home and chooses to live independently. That is a craziness. Similarly, when you come to this material world, giving up the protection of God, that is our craziness. So a crazy man must suffer. Therefore, we are suffering. But But you have the right to become crazy. Wow. What a way to end class. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, you have the right to become crazy. Congratulations. You've earned the right by coming here. So again, same thing. The question is asked directly. We're in the spiritual world. How do we fall down? Prabhupada only talks about misuse of independence. So that's the problem. And so it comes back down to this, the reality, like right here, right now, at this moment, use our independence. Like as soon as we stop this class, you can do anything you want. But what will you do? How will you use that independence? For Krishna or for Maya? That's the point Prabhupada's making, and he's making the point that that's true everywhere, at any time, all times, everywhere. The possibility is there. That's the point he wants to make. So, and he made it. I look tired. You want to know why I look tired, Krishna Koshan? Because it's really hot in this room. And if I put the AC on, this is what you're going to hear. So in order that you don't hear that, I didn't put it on. But sitting in a hot room with no air, it does make you tired. I may give classes in the other room because the AC is not as loud. And I have a microphone that's less sensitive and hum in the background. But if I put that one on, that's the leaking AC. It's pretty loud. It's a problem that it's hard to give class. So I may have to do it in another room, and I have a mic that if I talk right into it, it won't pick up much else. So we may have to do that. It's getting very hot. Okay, we're going to say goodbye. And don't forget, you have independence. That's the moral. That's the lesson we learned today. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.